In this video, we're going to extend the database we made of Beatles songs. So previously, we had two entities, a song and album, and there was a one-to-many relationship between song and album. We were neglecting any greatest hits albums, and so then we were saying that a song is on one album and that an album has many songs, making that a one-to-many relationship. Now we are going to add in the Beatles themselves, the artists, and then we're going to consider the relationship between song and artist in terms of writing. And Lennon and McCartney wrote many songs together. They are credited with writing many songs together, and they, actually wrote a number of songs together. So that makes a song to artist a many to many relationship. And a song is written by many, more than one artist, or at least can be, or in some instances, not always written by more than one artist, but it can be written by more than one artist. And an artist writes many songs. So we'll just simplify it. A song is written by many artists, and an artist writes many songs, making the relationship many to many. And so we're going to introduce a bridge table to realize the many to many relationship. So we're going to say that we have three entities, but then when we make the database, we're going to have four tables. So one of the tables is just serving the purpose of establishing, realizing the many to many relationship. Okay. So just our basic setup here. Nothing new that we didn't have before. Create engine, declarative base. We have columns, integer for some primary keys, strings for names and titles of songs, and so on. A foreign key. No, I do have a new one, sorry. Table, my bridge table, I'm declaring a table. So that one is new. I'm going to have a session and I'm going to have a relationship. Okay. Creating this time, I'm going to sort of keep the database around, make it a little more permanent. So I named it. So previously I'd done an in-memory database. Now I'm actually going to save it. What's coming next? I'm going to establish the table right away because I'm going to refer to these IDs and to relationships. I'm going to, when I write other entities, I'm going to say that they have relationships through this right table. So the right table has to sort of be known, be understood before the classes that use it to establish their relationship. So that's why this thing, which may in your mind sort of come last, has to come first, because the classes are going to refer to it, and that won't make sense unless it exists. So we're going to have used that idea of table. So again, the one new thing that we imported was table. And I'm just giving the name of right table, and just that the artists write the songs. So this connection, this many to many connection, is one of writing. So I call it the right table. And then there, when you have one of these bridge tables, you can have more than just foreign keys, but this one is just foreign keys. So there's just two foreign keys in this table, an artist ID and a song. Just a brief little review about database ideas. We can have in the one-to-many relationship of song to album, I can have a foreign key in the song table because I'm looking for this one. I want my columns in my database. I want the entries in a given column. So a record has has columns, And then we want sort of atomic data, individual. I don't want to have to split anything. And so because the song belongs to one album, I can put that album's key as a foreign key in my song table and establish this relationship. But because down here in the song to artist, it's many to many, I can't really put the artist key in song because Lennon and McCartney wrote songs. So I'd have to put both of their IDs in a single box for artist in song. And I don't want to do that. I want it to be atomic. And down here for same thing for the artist. I can't, the artist write many songs. So I can't say here's the artist and here are the songs because it would be multi-valued. I don't want any multi-valued entries. So then I introduce the write table, and then the write table sort of for John Lennon writing a song, I will have in this table a record with John Lennon and that the ID for that particular song, John Lennon's ID and that particular song's ID. And then when I get to, but the song was also written by Paul McCartney, so then I get another record, and then I have Paul's ID and but that same song's ID. So that's the game. That's what the write table does for us. Okay. Now we move on to the album class. It has a corresponding table, which we're naming. It's a column. The IDs of the album class were strings because of our data file. We had some sort of pre-existing album primary key IDs. So that's a string. It's the primary key. There's an album title, which is a string, the image file, which is a string, and it has a relationship to song. This is old. We did this in the previous video. Song has a corresponding table called song with a small s. It has an ID that is going to be an integer, and we're going to rely on auto incrementing. So the Beatles songs had no IDs in the data file. So we're just going to make the primary key for the song an integer and do auto incrementing. They have a song title, which is a string. There's an album ID establishing the one-to-many relationship with this is the album ID. It is the foreign key. It relates to the album table. So this is the table. This is the property of the table. And then I named the property within song. I named it album ID. And then here is the new relationship. I'm bringing in artist, and an artist has a relationship to a song. And so I say I have a relationship to artist. And when I was in album, I had a relationship to song. And that's all I say. But when I am in song making my relationship to artist, this being the many to many, I have to say that that relationship is through the table. So I'm going to go through artist, but I'm going through the table. And I have this other thing where I say view only is true. Okay. So I have a relationship to artist. Because it's many to many, I'm working through my bridge table, which I call the write table because it's about the artist writing the song. And I've called it within song. I've called the relationship written by. Now I'm making my artist class. It corresponds to a table called artist, giving it an ID, which is integer, will auto increment. We'll give the artist a first name and a last name. And it has a relationship. Artist has a relationship to song, again, through the bridge table, which I called write table. And I called, under artists, the name of that relationship is wrote. Establish the engine, establish the session, set up so I can read a data file, read the album's data file, loop through, no headers, comma separated values. It has an ID and an album title and an image. Those are all strings. Albums, ID, title, image file, and use the constructor, make one, and then add it through the session and then commit. I don't think I need to commit and flush. That's a little redundant. Okay. Read the song file, loop through, no headers, parse on a delimiter of a comma. It has, there were two pieces, a title and a foreign key relating back to albums. So there it is, song title, album ID, X0, X1, and then add the song and commit. This one had the integer ID, so we're auto incrementing. And again, commit, and again, redundant with the flush. I think the commit does everything I need it to do. I didn't put the artist in a file. I'm just sort of hard coding it. So I'm using my artist class constructor, setting up a first name, setting up a last name for John, Paul, George, and Ringo, and add, and commit. And now I want to establish the relationship. And I'm just again doing that through this sort of just hard coding. Now I just want to scroll way back up and look at the right table again. And the right table had the artist and then the song. And so I'm just putting in a few of these records. There are a lot of these records. I'm only putting in a few, but here is, and I can do it sort of one at a time or do some multi things. And so here I'm saying it was first the artist. So one is, I think, John, and two is Paul. And then this is song number one. So I'm saying that John and Paul wrote song one, and John and Paul wrote song two. And that's true for a lot of songs. So I skipped over to 6. I don't know why. I guess do I like that song? I don't know. John and Paul wrote the 6th song, Ask Me Why. And then here's one for George. George is artist number 3, and George wrote song 18. Okay. Now, this could have been two executes. I'm executing an insert. So before we tended to do an add. We were working with the constructor. So before we had a class, song and artist and album, they all had a class. So we kind of used the constructor and we said add, which did an insert for us. Here we're working with the bridge table. And so it's closer to sort of like SQL. So we're saying insert values. So that's a little bit more SQL-like. The SQL alchemy sort of hides in the classes the behind the scenes SQL and does it for us. Here, the SQL alchemy reads a little bit more like actual SQL. So I have this right table. I'm inserting into it values. John wrote song 1, Paul wrote song 1. I could have done that as 2 separate inserts, or I can insert multiple little, I don't know, vectors or tuples here. And so I did song 1, song 2, song 6, song 18, John and Paul, John and Paul, John and Paul, George. I am querying the song table and grabbing the first song, and then the song has a written by relationship, and that relationship is the many to many. So there are many artists that wrote this song, John and Paul. And so I'm looping over the person. and getting that name. So that is working through the bridge table and doing sort of the join. So song is joined to the right table, is joined to artist. It's doing the natural join for both. And I will have, through the idea of the relationship that I called for the song, I called the relationship written by, but I have access to the properties of the artist, like last name. So I had done the song album relationships in the previous one. They have not changed. So I'm focusing on this new many-to-many relationship. And here I've queried the artist, and I've grabbed the first artist. So that is John. And then the many-to-many relationship for the artist is I called wrote. And so then I got the first artist, which was John. So I named my thing John, and then I'm working with that relationship to say that John wrote, and I have access to the song title. So here again, SQL Alchemy, we're working actually with the classes, and then behind the scenes, SQL Alchemy does the SQL for us. But the SQL here would be John joined to the bridge table, and then the bridge table joined to song, both natural joins of foreign keys matching primary keys. And that's all sort of handled for us by us establishing the right table and then saying there was a relationship of the artist to the song through the right table. And all that's left is to run it. And then, so first we queried the first song, which was I Saw Her Standing There, and that was written by Lennon and McCartney. So the one song was written by many artists, many being two. And then the second query, we queried the artist table, and then we worked through the relationship, the many-to-many relationship. And this one artist wrote many songs, but I only populated the bridge table with 3 of the songs by Lennon and McCartney and 1 by George Harrison. That's what I wanted to show you, giving you a many-to-many relationship through a bridge table. So the bridge table was sort of established first because the classes are going to refer to it. And this was the album which had the one-to-many relationship, so that was the easier one to song. Here was song with its foreign key relating back to album, but here is this new many-to-many relationship on the song side, and I called it written by. It's a relationship to artist, and it's through the bridge table, which I called right table. Here's the artist. That's the new entity in this video, and it has a many-to-many relationship to song. And for artist, I've called that relationship wrote. It's a relationship to song, and again, it's through the bridge table. All right, that's what I wanted to show you on this one. Thanks for your attention.